أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. As always, welcome all of you for our weekly discussion in You Muslims Guide, where we actually go over this book. So if any one of you doesn't have that book already, come and pick it up. Inshallah, I have a bunch of them. And today we actually on chapter 8, Islamic perspective on sexual relations between men and women. So from the beginning, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Believe it or not, as Muslims, we do not believe that men and women can be just friends. We believe in something called healthy separation, healthy segregation, where we believe that men and women can socialize, but it has to be limited, and it has to be within some guidelines. For example, there is nothing wrong of having the opposite gender neighbors, cousins, classmates, co-workers, people that you interact with on superficial dealings. Makes sense? There's nothing, you can talk, you can know people, but you cannot make them, how you say, friends. We don't believe in girlfriend and boyfriends. You can have them as a casual, like your classmates, co-workers, neighbors, but you cannot have them as friends. Why? Because we believe and we put emphasis on the biology and the psychology of the individuals. Men are sexual beings, so there is no way that a man and woman can be together for a long period of time without developing emotions, without developing connection and attachment to them. So we constantly look at the Western lifestyle and we wonder and we question, why will somebody spend so much time with one another, knowing it's going nowhere? Why will somebody invest their body, their emotions, their time? They are investing, they are having boyfriend and girlfriends for years, knowing it's not gonna work out. So the whole idea of getting to know one another, having boyfriend and girlfriend, is for you to get married. So when we look at the West and we say, like, why are you even wasting your time then? If you see there's no future, why are you wasting your time and your emotions and your life and so on and on? Because we believe in that. We believe the only reason that a man and woman can get to know one another on a deeper level, not that superficial dealing, is for marriage. You get the point? So from the beginning, we don't have that concept of what? Boyfriends and girlfriends. You can have them, you know about them, you can deal with them, but you cannot get to know them on a deeper level. That's why it is so awkward, and that's why we have a challenge here living in the West, where it is more comfortable to have non-Muslim opposite gender friends than you have opposite gender Muslim friends. Because as a Muslim woman, when she meets a non-Muslim man, she knows he's not gonna marry her, so she feel comfortable lowering her guard. And also for a Muslim man, it feel very easy for him to get to know other women from other faith, because I'm not gonna marry them, so there is no that awkwardness. So they get to know one another. They start chatting, adding on social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever, and they develop attachment, and they start developing emotions, and then that question will arise: can a Muslim man marry a non-Muslim woman, and can a Muslim woman marry a non-Muslim man, and so on and on. So that's the challenge that's happening. So they feel it is more easier and more safe to have friends from other religions, because as a Muslim woman, when she finds somebody, a Muslim man, being too friendly with her, she can be like, what's going on? Why is he acting like this with me? Does he want to marry me? So the things become very awkward, because she's coming from different perspective and the guy coming from complete different perspective, and that tension and misunderstanding will arise. So from Islamic perspective, you get the answer is you cannot. That's why if you go to Islamic countries, for example, me, when I'm from Iraq, so I spent my entire schooling year all the way until high school, and I graduated high school. Boys have their own classes, and women and girls have their own classes. We never mixed. We are in the same school, but all the boys, they're gonna have their lunch break at this time, and all the girls, they have their lunch break at this time, and there is no mixing. The only time that you see them is at dismissal, once you go outside of the doors. So that's from Islamic countries. So the only time I start having classmates, women classmates, is actually in college. So other countries, they have that healthy separation. They was like, look, when you go to the school, you are there to study. You don't need to worry about women. You don't need to worry about boyfriend and girlfriends. You don't need to worry about none of this. You're here to study, to develop yourself, to grow. And then once you finish school, you can worry about getting married. That's why when you go to the different mosques, you find in the prayer hall, there is that healthy separation. And you'll find people trying to be accommodating. For if you come to the Memphis Islamic Center, you find there's this small partition at the back of the prayer hall. It's like a small rope, you know how the dividers, and the women's section over there, and they have a second floor. They have the balcony all for them. So we're trying to be accommodating for people who feel comfortable, for women to feel comfortable to be in the same place, they be in the same place. Some people, they don't feel comfortable, they go second floor, and nobody will be able to see them. If you go to other different mosques, you might find them, they are completely separated by a wall or by a curtain where nobody can see one another. Complete segregation. Some is just a piece of glass. Different people have different backgrounds, they have different cultures. So how can we be accommodating is by providing a space that regardless of where the people come from, they feel comfortable coming to this mosque. That's why if you guys ever went to Masjid al-Rahman, they actually have completely different part and separated by glass, and they put the tent on it so nobody can see nothing, and they have their own window and their own speaker and so on and on, just to make them feel comfortable. Why is this important, and why is this you need to be culturally aware of this? Because Muslims are diverse. For example, we talked about dress code already, but just to help you understand, there are some Muslim women, their hijab, their dress code is they cover everything except the face and the hands. Nice. Some Muslim women, they cover everything, even the face, and they only expose the eyes. Okay, some Muslims, they cover even the eyes, and some Muslims, they don't even cover the hair. Some Muslim, they don't mix with men whatsoever. So sometimes you say Assalamu alaikum, they don't even answer you. To that extent. Some women, they don't work, they just stood home like queens and princesses, and the husband and the brother and the father take care of them, and that's how they grew up. That's their culture. and some diverse. So you have a spectrum. So some women, they don't mix with men whatsoever, like never, never, ever, like they never seen a guy outside of their family members, to that extent. And some people, they are cool, they can go, they meet, talk with them, like to the other men, within some, they keep their modesty and guidelines and so on and on. But I'm just showing you that Muslims are diverse depending on their cultures. Cool? So you need to be aware when you engage and when you talk with other Muslims. You need to understand that they are from a different background, they are from a different culture, they have different ideas, different practices, different mindsets. Not all the Muslims the same. That's why we're trying to be accommodating, and you need to be accommodating and aware of different cultures and different customs when interaction between the gender happens. So the second point is about sexual desires need to be fulfilled. We believe that men and women, like we believe that we're supposed to fulfill our sexual desires, but we need to fulfill it in a right, righteous, and ethical and moral way, which is only during marriage. So Islamically, as Muslims, a man, like a boy and a girl, they become a boy, they become a man and a lady, once they hit puberty and when they hit physical and mental maturity. Now they are adults. From Islamic perspective, once a person hit physical and mental maturity, they become adults. They actually become eligible for marriage. So once the mix of cultures happen with colonialism and with the West, and they come and they're trying to push their education system on the Islamic countries, now you have a crisis. The crisis is what? That men and women not fulfilling their sexual desires, their sexual needs, until marriage, until they finish high school, until they go to college, until they work, meet and other people and get married. So they have what? Sexual deprivation. They are deprived of fulfilling their sexual desires and sexual needs. So that sexual deprivation is being manifested in so many different ways, by depression, by hormonal imbalances, by tantrums, by anger, by so many things, like so many issues start happening because of this. Why? Because they're trying to implement Western cultures with Islamic cultures. So it's not working out. That's why when you see American public schools and schools in general, and when they go and do interviews and social experiments, and they start asking, at what age did you guys start having sex? And they will find out they start having sex when they are super young. Where like some people, they say when I was 9, some 8, some 10, some 11, some 12. It's messed up, our culture that we are living here, because of what? Men and women, girls and boys are in the same classrooms, and they're flirting and they're seeing this and seeing that and all that stuff, and pornography, porn and all that stuff happening. So you find boys and girls are they having sexual relationships, having boyfriends and girlfriends, and they finish high school catching so many, like having so many boyfriends and girlfriends, and some of them they end up with diseases, some of them they end up with children while they're in school. Why? Because they are not addressing the issue. This style, this is lifestyle of what it means to be adult is only when you hit 18. But the girls and boys are actually hitting adulthood when they're 11, 12, and 13 and 14. So you cannot expect them not to do anything because they have desires and needs. Make sense? So Islam acknowledges that a man, like a boy becomes a man once they hit puberty, and a girl hits womanhood when she hit puberty. So they need to get married when they're young, because we believe in divorce. As Muslims, divorce actually permissible. As Muslims, actually divorce is a mercy, and a divorce is a solution to a problem. So if a marriage didn't work out, for some reason you say, I don't like you no more, or she's like, I don't see myself with you, or like something happened for whatever valid reason, divorce applies. And that's a mercy. And instead of you destroying your entire life and she destroying her entire life, let everybody separate peacefully and rightfully and with righteousness and piety, and let Allah bless them with another husband, with another wife. But we believe as well, divorce, if there is kids, it becomes a crime. So it is extremely frowned upon, it is extremely disliked and discouraged to divorce if there is kids, because it's no longer about the parents, it's now about the kids, about raising the kids, about the future, about leaving a legacy, is about improving the lifestyle and the future of our kids. So that's the idea. So we actually believe the younger the couples are, the better chance for them to get married, and the better chance for them to grow together. And for women, the younger she is more healthier for her to have kids. Because it's marriage, it's not like they just having whatever. No, they are married. So it's easier for her and healthier to have kids while she is young. So another point, so Islam trying to provide healthy guidelines to have a strong and healthy family. That's why the crisis of our society here, living in the West, living in America, is the loss of family values, is the loss of having nuclear family, where a person grow up with a mother and a father. A girl has a mother figure and a boy has a father figure, and they look at and they learn and they raise and they grow up and they grow having that support of a mother and a father. And the reasons for all this happening around us is because of single parents families. When the woman end up raising kids on her own, or the father ending up raising the boy on his own, and they have to work, they have to do all this, so nobody's really how you call it, basically nobody's taking care of their kids and raising them and teaching them what they need to do. So that's the crisis. That's why it's around 80% of people who commit crime, they come from single parents' house, because of that loss of father or a mother figure. So marriage is the only way to fulfill the sexual desires and needs for people. Therefore, marriage should be easy. Makes sense? Islamic marriage is extremely easy, and the divorce is extremely easy as well. That's why it's a solution, and that's why Islam give you an understanding. As Muslims, Islam focuses mainly on prevention than the cure, because we believe it is better to prevent something from taking place than you trying to fix whatever they messed up. Makes sense? So Islam's basically the way that he prevent having broken families and prevent having sexual deprivation and all that other stuff that comes by people not fulfilling their needs. The way to prevent all that is by making marriage super easy. That's the idea. So here for us, living in America, there's something, because now we know, okay, you cannot have a boyfriend and a girlfriend. Okay, then how can I get married? How do I know the person? Makes sense? So we living here, we're trying to implement Islamic guidelines in our lifestyle, even in our dating. So there's something called halal dating. I'm like, what do you mean halal dating? So halal dating is when you get to know the other person, the opposite gender, while keeping the halal, the permissible guidelines. For example, if you meet a person and you want to know if I can marry them, let me test the water, let me see if they even open to the idea, let me see if they even single, let me see if they like me for me even to propose or to invest and whatever. So the idea of halal dating is that when you get to know one another, you need to be clear and sincere that the only reason that you are getting to know one another is for marriage purposes. It's not a games of numbers that you talk with so many women and see which one you're gonna win. And you cannot talk with multiple people at the same time. So if you're getting to know one person, then you're only supposed to know that person during that time. You cannot like, okay, let me get to know this person. Okay, let me get to know another person. Let me go to another person and let's see which one is better for me. You cannot do that because that's insincere, and that's you are not serious about it. So you need to pick one person and you need to get to know them while keeping Islamic guidelines. What is these Islamic guidelines? First of all, there is no flirting, there is no touching, there is no hugging, there is no handshaking. You cannot talk about anything inappropriate. You cannot be in the same room by yourself. So you cannot be in the same car, you cannot be in the same house, you cannot be in a place where nobody else is there to protect her honor and her safety and his honor and his safety. And also, the only time you can meet, it has to be in a public place, and you cannot have these gaze where you're looking at her certain way, she's looking at you certain way, and all that, making things uncomfortable. The only thing that you need to do, you have to keep it superficial and keep it professional. You get the point? We believe the time that you get to know one another is in marriage. And that's what they call the engagement period. When you get married, you do the Islamic marriage, you call it engagement, and so, okay, let's take 2-3 months, get to know one another. Now we are married, now I know you're serious about it, I know she's serious about it, let's call it engagement, and now we can flirt, we can hold hands, we can hug, we can kiss, we can go outside in public, we can do whatever we gotta do, but we are engaged, we are not really married because we cannot have sexual relationships. Once sexual relationships take place, you are married 100%. So all these guidelines, all these steps is leading to sex. You get the point? So you will get married Islamically, Or also you get married legally, but you call it engagement. You go like, let's get married, but we might call it dating. We can call it engagement. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But Islamically, you guys are married. You can tell the people you guys are engaged. So that's how we're trying to implement Islamic guidelines and Western guidelines, where you get engaged and tell the people you are engaged. Between the couples, they say we are engaged, but on paper, you guys are married. And once you consummate the marriage, now you are 100% marriage. For example, he will say, let's take 2-3 months, get to know one another, until you have a due date for wedding, until you finish school, until you get that a certain amount of money in saving, so you can go for honeymoon or whatever. So that's the idea. Islamically, we believe you get to know one another in marriage. That's when you really know the person that you are talking to. Before marriage, it's all an act, it's all a show. That's why in dating here in the West, the man comes, flash the money, flash the keys, flash the car, flash the house, all this stuff, and then you find out he's drug dealer. You find out this is not his car, he actually rented it for the weekend. You find out this is not his house. You find it's all a lie, it's all a facade. So similarly in Islam, we believe when you want to get to know a person, of course the person gonna come and he gonna be that shining armor, the knight. He gonna be so nice, so kind, so respectful, so he gonna be mashallah tabarak. You're gonna be like, where you been all my life? But the real him and the real you is in marriage. That's why we try to hasten marriage. Get married really quick, because that's when things get like, okay, now we are married. You don't need to fake it no more, and now everybody gonna show their real colors. You get the idea? And once you get to know one another, you're gonna be like, well, we thank God we're still engaged, because I don't want to invest physically with you. I don't want to develop more emotions to you. So let's break it and move on with our life. So marriage, get to know one another, then consummate the marriage, and then you judge and you see and so on. So any questions, any thoughts about what we just talked about so far?
Yes.
Yes.
So the Islamic way, do you have to do it on paperwork like the Western way?
So yes, the default, the guidelines, the policies is that you cannot get married Islamically before you get married legally. Nice? So any mosque, any place of worship that you go to now, they say this is actually the policy and we cannot go against it. In fact, some will require you to have pre-marriage counseling, where they sit and get to know the couple and see why they are married. Because we have an issue of what? Some Muslim men, they separate the state and the religion. They say, I just need to get married Islamically. I don't care about the government. And then you find out he actually married by the government and he already have a family. He just want to play around. You see what I mean? Some people, they're already married back home in different countries overseas. They come to America, they want to get papers. So they lie. They say, oh, I'm not married. I just want to get a wife. And he get married and she found out he has a family back home. And he only married her for papers. So we have that crisis. We have that challenge that's in our community, where people actually lying to get married, to play and take advantage of women. They say, oh, I just want to get married Islamic. I just want to get married. Brother, why you don't want to get married legally? No, this. But you can do prenups. You can do you can put a contract, you put conditions. So the policy is that you need to get married legally before you get married Islamically. But there's always exceptions. And the exceptions on one basis. And that will be based on the imam. He will meet the couple and see. For example, there's a sister, she's not sure about the marriage. So we said, okay, sister, get married Islamically. Give it 6 months. If things worked out, get married legally. You get the point? So some exceptions. Some are young. So there's a couple come, both of them 19 years old. And he was like, I want to get married so I can protect myself, and she want to protect herself. We want to live a chaste and honored lifestyle. Makes sense? Where we want, like, we love one another. So the imam can say, well, you guys are still too young for that big marriage thing. So he might give them Islamic marriage without legal marriage. Tell them, okay, get married here and see how things gonna work out, and then find out later on. You get the idea? So the policy is legal marriage before Islamic marriage. Yes. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay, sounds good. So when you get married Islamically, there is conditions. So if you know a person that you want to marry them, you need to fulfill these conditions for your marriage to be accepted. Condition number 1, which is an offer, a proposal, and acceptance, where the man comes and say, I'm proposing to you to marry me. Will you marry me? And if she said, I do, freely, nobody's forcing her, no parents forcing her, no pressure from nobody. She need to be willingly and freely get married. Otherwise, the marriage will be invalid. Why are we talking about this? Because Muslims are so diverse, and there's some people, different cultures, they have forced marriage. They was like, oh, my dad forced me to marry that guy. I don't even know him. I never met him before. And you're going to be like, hold on, what's going on here? They was like, yeah, my dad just met me and he says, hey, this is your husband. Go ahead and move in with him. What's happening? Different cultures, they have different practices. So Islam put a condition that she need to freely accept the proposal. Another condition, a dowry. There has to be a gift of marriage. That could be a ring, it could be a set of jewelry, it could be a car, it could be a house, it could be money, it could be whatever. It's just a gift to show the woman that, hey, I am serious about this. I'm willing to invest my money and my time. I'm generous. I'm honoring you and respecting you, and I'm trying to show that I'm serious about this commitment. Makes sense? A dowry that you gift as a wedding gift to the woman. And there has to be witnesses. So we don't believe in secret marriages. Secret marriages are not valid. They are invalid, and nobody will accept. Another last condition, there has to be a guardian, what they called in Arabic a wali. A guardian is a father figure from the wife, from the woman's side, that look for her best interest. So that could be her father, her grandfather, her uncle, her big brother, whatever, a person that will be part of the marriage and will constantly check on the marriage, will constantly make sure that the woman is being protected, looked after, and honored. Make sure the husband doing what he's supposed to be doing, and making sure the woman doing what she's supposed to be doing. So in modern time that can be said like what godfather, or can be like a therapist or a counselor, marriage therapist, a person that the woman go and ask for guidance. A woman go and say like, hey, my husband is not doing this, my husband doing that, and he will interfere in the marriage to make things peaceful and calm and clear things out. That's why it's called a guardian, and his main priority is the woman, to make sure the woman is protected, honored, and being taken care of by the husband. And one of the powers that the guardian has, he actually can divorce and break the marriage apart. So he can come and he says, no, this guy is a bad guy, he's not a good guy, he's doing this, and he can on the spot says, I divorce you guys, you no longer married to one another. He has that power because he's representing the woman. He's her guardian, he's her bodyguard, and he make these tough decisions for her. So any thoughts, any conditions about, any questions, thoughts, reflection about the conditions of marriage? Makes sense? Everything makes sense? Everything's clear?
Yes.
Sounds good. So I have bad news and I have good news.